Welcome to the Journaling Room Live, where I am working with so many different experts and helping experts turn their expertise into assets. And this is an incredible conversation that we are going to have today. As I said, I'm helping experts turn their expertise into assets, whether that asset is a book, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a magazine, but just whatever it is that feels authentically them to be able to put out. But the books is a real big thing I've been doing over the last few years. Most people know me for House of Ilona Clergy, which was my women's clergy fashion brand. And during lockdown, pivoted into writing my first book, which was Finding Divine Flow, which I'm going to revise real soon. And then just pouring out many more books, and most of those books are actually journals. And I have been journaling for literally my whole life. I'm on like a nearly 2,000 day streak on my favorite journaling app, which is Day One. And I've got other people that are getting to 100 days and 300 days and nearly 600 days. So it's really exciting being able to inspire people to journal, people who have never journaled before, who use my books to have prompts that just kind of give them the questions and prompt them with thoughts that kind of get them writing, whether it's a sentence or streams and streams of writing that can come out of it. I find it very healing, very therapeutic, very powerful to tap into my own thoughts. Where am I? How am I really doing? You know, people ask you that question all the time. How are you? And I'm fine. But no, how are you really doing? And I find with journaling, it really helps me tap into how I'm really doing, tap into my thoughts and emotions. And it gives me such great language when I am speaking with people. So I see a few people have joined us, so do let me know where you're joining from. If you have any questions around journaling, around self-publishing, I jump on here every Monday at 9 p.m. GMT, which is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I love to talk about journaling, self-publishing, and leaving a legacy. There are so many stories that need to be told before it's too late. There are too many stories that we are losing and missing. And as always, on a Monday, I have a special guest with me who will be joining me shortly. But speaking about leaving a legacy, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about capturing stories and writing your legacy, writing your experience, passing it on to the next generation is because so many stories and so many legacies are lost. With the older generation, they're lost. And I think it's so important to capture those lessons and capture those lessons from the elders in a way that's palatable to the next generation. Again, whether that's through books, whether that's through podcasts, audiobooks, whatever the form and the methods are, there are just such incredible lessons that need to be captured and not lost. And I think one of the reasons I personally feel so passionate about these legacy stories is because I no longer have my mum, my dad, my grandparents, my great grandparents. I actually had the privilege, I don't know if anyone else has, of meeting both of my great grandmothers on both sides of my family when I was real young back in Jamaica. So I've met my great grandmothers, and my grandparents, knew them all, and my parents, and I don't have them anymore. So when I meet older people with stories, I'm that kid, I'm that girl that wants to sit and just glean and learn. And this is the power of capturing these stories and writing books. So again, let me know where you're joining from. We've got the netballer Yvonne joining us. She says, hi Camille, I've finally been able to listen. Great to have you here live with us. Do let us know where you're joining from and if you have any questions around journaling or self-publishing. So speaking about leaving a legacy and me just having this passion for hearing stories from older people, one of the big reasons is because my mum and dad are not here anymore, and this is the book that came out of that season. It's called Healing Through the Storm, and it's a guided journaling experience for grief and loss, available on Amazon and on my Stan store. But it's, at the time of writing this, I had gone to see my mum who had Alzheimer's and dementia. And, it was a typical visit, but I just felt this overwhelming sense of grief. And I just couldn't understand where it was coming from. I didn't have any seriously bad news or anything like that, but I just felt this intense sense of grief. And I just couldn't shift it, and I didn't want to address it either. But after a few days of seeing, different programs, different videos, different things, it just wouldn't leave me. And so I allowed myself, the tears came, and I just allowed myself to just move into this feeling of grief that I was feeling. And in that moment, I penned this book. To this day, I still can't read the introduction because it was raw and it's very emotional. It's a letter that starts, "Dear grieving friend," and just kind of touching on my experience of grief and 10 different stages of grief as well. And in those 10 stages, I've got 10 prompts for each of those stages. So, for example, in the area of anger, how do I cope with my anger? Another one on anger is, what lessons can I learn from my anger? And so this was the book, Healing Through the Storm, a guided journaling experience through grief and loss. This is also a great gift. There's so many times that people are grieving, and you send flowers, and they've probably got, if it's anything like me, nearly 20 bouquets of flowers in the house, so much flowers. But something like this is something that people can take on their journey with them. Some people aren't ready to write in it. Some people are, may fill out all 100 prompts, or just the ones that they feel ready to. So that came in that season. And I wasn't finished. I wrote that book and the 100 journaling prompts in it, but I was dealing with a silent grief at the time. As I said, my mum had Alzheimer's and dementia, and it was the same year that my dad passed that we had my mum's diagnosis, and they gave her 7 years. She lasted 17. But it was a really long grief, and I wrote this book called The Silent Goodbye, and it's a guided journaling experience coping with living grief, which is a very unique type of grief to deal with, because you're grieving someone, but they're still here. So it feels wrong, but there's so much of them that you're missing, even though they're still here. So again, if you know anyone dealing with grief, but the person is still here, whether they're losing them slowly, whether it's a relationship, whatever it could be, but this, The Silent Goodbye, again, filled with journaling prompts to help people process a very unique type of grief. So that's where those books came from, that season. So Healing Through the Storm and The Silent Goodbye. So again, this is my appreciation for the elders, my appreciation for people with experience and expertise, and me just trying to help as many people as possible. First of all, journal. So there are people that journal all the time, and they're like, "Camille, because of you, I journal more." There are people that don't know how to journal. So I encourage people. It's a great tool to learn yourself, have great conversations with yourself. Sometimes the journal entries turn into prayers or questions, but journaling is a great tool for everybody. It's free. You don't have to edit it. You don't have to be perfect. Just allow your emotion somewhere to land. And so that's my kind of alarm bells for journaling, and me tooting the horn for journaling, which everyone should do. And for some people, they have a book inside of them. Rose Foster's joined. She says, "Hi, Camille, good to have you on. Do let me know where you're joining from." But yeah, there are so many of us that have books inside of us. We have experience inside of us. We are further along the journey, and someone is further behind, and we are their hope. And there's so much in our story that seems so obvious to us, but is a breakthrough and could be life-changing for someone else who is on their journey. So I always encourage people and say, I believe that there is a book inside of all of us. I believe there is purpose inside of all of us, and something for all of us to do. So thank you again for joining me here in the journaling room. Mondays at 9 p.m. I jump on here for 20-30 minutes or so and just have conversations with authors and the different people that I've been working with. I've been doing fashion for, gosh, over 15, 16, 17 years, and pivoted into the journaling space and book writing and writing many books myself. I've got over 20 books on Amazon, but also helping other people to write and self-publish and get those stories out of them. It often starts at a place of journaling, and then they're saying, oh my gosh, I've got so much more to say. And then we move into a place of helping them to publish, to self-publish. I like to help people self-publish. Yeah, how I view it is I kind of help them build the car, and then give them the keys, and they get to keep their royalties and everything else like that. But it's really helping them to get the book set up, get the book typeset, get the cover done, and all of the things, set up their own Amazon account, which is called KDP, get them set up in there, and just to help them publish and then to promote themselves. And often I go on to help some of my authors go even further, and we have what I call a flows strategy session, where that gets really exciting, where I basically put them on an individualized journaling experience, and we have a shared document, and I ask them, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50 questions, all related to their goals, and they go deep. It's very raw, very vulnerable, but with that I'm able to take all of that raw material and really begin to shape their brand story. So in probably another week or two, I'll have someone on who we did a flow strategy session with. And she went from, oh, I don't know what my message is. I'm so confused. I'm not sure. I've got keynotes, I've got messages inside of me, but I just don't know how to. And we nailed it down in that strategy session. It's 90 minutes, life-changing. We had an absolutely phenomenal time. And was really able to nail her brand message. So that's my flows strategy session. If you're interested, do reach out. Camelle-ilona.com, my website, or any of the social medias, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the things. So I'm very excited today to have a very special guest on. We met many years ago at a Christian business event, and so many conversations. She's so inspirational, she's so encouraging, she's so uplifting. Always love speaking to her. And then I had the absolute honor and privilege of helping her self-publish her first book, which we're going to talk more about. And then we had a roller coaster of a couple of days where we spun around another book for her. So I'm excited to have this conversation with her. And as I said, I'm in the business of helping experts turn their expertise into assets. And so we're going to talk about two of her assets today, which are books. So without further ado, I would love to bring onto the stage. Let me just get my things right in front of me here. I'd love to bring onto the stage Fiona Brennan-Scott. Welcome.
Hello, Camelle.
Great to have you on. How are you doing?
Very well. A little bit mad because I've just played 2 hours of tennis and had a quick turnaround. I might have passed out otherwise, but I'm here.
I appreciate you so much. I love tennis. I used to play all the time and I need to get back into it. So 2 hours on a Monday evening is impressive, Fiona.
Yes, I aim for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but it doesn't always happen with work.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I won't keep you too long, but I love to have a conversation about journaling and writing and the writing process, about publishing and about leaving a legacy. So I was just giving a brief introduction, but tell us a little bit more about who you are and your expertise and what it is that you do.
Well, the screen says it, Fiona Brennan-Scott. I have a business which helps people who are current or aspiring leaders mostly in STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths, medical, manufacturing, who have been promoted and they are brilliant at what they do. They're subject matter experts, but their communication skills are lacking because they've never really developed them. And most schools don't do a good job of enabling and empowering people for public speaking. So by the time they get to that level of seniority, they feel inadequate, and I'm there to help them match up their competence with their confidence in speaking about it, so they can run a meeting, present to the meeting, and do conferences and seminars. But in the last 2 years, people have been asking me to help them with small talk and conversation skills. So I'm also doing that now.
Amazing, amazing. So your first book that we worked on, had the privilege of working on together, Breathtaking Communication. And then, as you said, you've just published a second one. So talk to us about the two books and the difference between them.
So Breathtaking Communication was written in lockdown, pardon me, and based on 22 years of expertise as a speech and drama teacher, running my own studios and developing a curriculum that helped with 16 years of speech and drama studios, helping with life skills, developing confidence in communication. And then for 9 years, I've focused on business people, because I had business people coming to me, and I had an adult class in South Africa. But my kids were going off to university, and I kind of had done it with kids and adults and teenagers. And I thought, the people are really motivated and less hard work to work with, because they come to me. Teenagers and kids were fantastic, but I had to try and promote and market to schools, and it just was hard work. So I just focused on the business world, and Breathtaking Communication was a legacy piece. I think if you remember the dedication, I dedicated it to my teachers who had never had written books themselves. So my drama teacher in Ireland, who had died in 2012, 10 years before the book was written. Joan Lee, who died in Australia, she was a South African speech and drama teacher, and a couple of other teachers. And it was to gather up the knowledge and skills that I had. So it had everything in it that a person would need to develop confidence in communication. Of course, the one thing a book doesn't have is accountability. So I still have people coming to me, and I use it as a handbook in the training room and in private coaching, so that after a session, I'll refer people to various chapters, and they can read that in their own time and consolidate their learning. So that's been really successful and really worked. The one thing is, it's quite a thick book. It's 256 pages or something, or 252 pages. So when I came to writing my second book, I wanted a slim book. And I've got a surprise for you, Camelle, because I'm due to get delivery of 5 books, author copies, on Saturday. But my husband, Andrew, who you've met, ordered on Amazon Prime, and he got delivery today. So I actually have the very first physical copy. And guess what? It says, I was saying to people, it's going to be a slim volume. Though this was literally my gesture for the book. And thanks to you, it's a slim volume.
Yes.
Look at it. It's a slim volume. And the cover has been designed by my son, Luke, who I produced a cover with the help of AI that was, my children thought, they're in their 20s, they thought it was really naff and AI generated. And they said, you need something that looks human and man-made. So this is it. And then you were there on the weekend, hours to go, clock ticking, when he designed the back cover so that it looks like speech bubbles and stripped it back a bit. Just amazing. And you were amazing, because I phoned you like a sinner going to confession on Wednesday, feeling really guilty, out walking with the dogs. And I phoned you and went, Camelle, I've got 3 days to go, and I don't know if I can do this on my own. And you just totally calmed me. You were like an angel, and said, send it over. I've got capacity. We'll do this. And we did it.
We did it. We did it.
12
And
hours before, 12 hours and 15 minutes before the deadline. I normally drink water, but after my tennis, I just really wanted a decaf Coke Zero. And that's what I've got. And I would tell every student and client, never drink fizzy drinks when you're speaking because it will make you burp. So I'm just telling you in advance, I'm apologizing if I burp. It's because I'm breaking my own rule and I deserve to suffer. Cheers.
brilliant.
It's
And
instead of champagne, it's something bubbly.
there you go. But it really was a journey, because when we did your first book, which is just such an incredible body of work of your experience, I mean, we took time, we did that over a good length of time. But to be able to turn around something, and what's beautiful is when you have a big body of work, you then start to understand what else people need. So what's that second glass that they need that's, not as thick, but a bit more condensed. And what you've done with Take a Breath is brilliant, because again, we turned it around really quickly, but the art of conversation, talk about that.
Well, it's interesting because is it an art or is it a science?
Oh.
And it's actually a bit of both.
Mm.
And I was extremely challenged when I was asked to help. The first person who said to me, I'm actually fine with presenting. It's small talk I need help with. Now, up to that point, I'd had people, when I said, what outcomes do you hope to accomplish, when they came to me for presentation skills and leadership communication skills, they would, when I said, they'd name 3 or 4 things and I'd say, and what else? And they'd say then, or next, I'd like to be able to have conversations with people because I get a bit anxious or I feel a bit awkward. But now I had people coming and I said, well, it's fine. Everything is transferable. You won't have a problem. Everything I teach you is transferable across the board. So it will lift your confidence in that area. But now someone coming directly to me, I was trying to pick out the bits and order it. What do they need in what order? And it was challenging. And I wasn't 100% sure that I was giving them what they need in the way they needed it. Mm-hmm. And I guess my lack of confidence meant that they were potentially not as confident in engaging with it. Maybe, I'm just saying, possibly not. I'm possibly imagining it. But last year I was invited to speak at a professional speaking contest. And I thought it had to be original. And I thought, well, what is it that's really topical? What am I working on at the moment? And this was obvious. And I came up with a great title of Sizing Up Small Talk, i.e. I hate the term small talk. I really dislike it because it's not small. Mm-hmm. And sizing it up is about making it as important as it is. So I prefer conversation skills, non-transactional communication, chat. And I created this 8-minute talk that got through to the finals, and loads of people regionally and nationally had conversations with me afterwards going, I so am like that. I can speak to hundreds of people in a room, but don't ask me to speak one-to-one at the coffee counter. And I knew that I needed to develop a course. And coincidentally, I met Julie Creffield, who works with AI and had written 14 books. And she was bringing out a book called You, Me and ChatGPT about the process of writing using AI as a publishing house. Even though she admits that Claude is better, she, the ring of You, Me and ChatGPT, she decided not to change it, but she does talk about, the various models you can use. And I decided to do it. And I was, I think, the first person in her group that gave a pre-order date for the ebook that actually stuck to it, which potentially wasn't very sensible because it gave me 6 weeks to do everything. And I'm not a person that likes to be under pressure or rushed. And I think you and I didn't. The only deadline we really had was the fact that I would really like my mom to get a copy of the book before I flew to Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
Because she'd had COVID in September and I wasn't that confident. Two of her siblings, if not three, had died in December and we were traveling in December. So I really wanted her to hold a copy of it. And you did it. You got that book through the deadlines. Well, there were no deadlines. You got it through for me. And I had the author copy the day we were flying, put it in an envelope, got it to her. You know, my sister read her the introduction and she died 3 days after I got back from Australia and New Zealand. And when I was in the airport flying over to say goodbye. So what you did was remarkable. And working with you was such a pleasure because you have such grace and generosity of spirit and compassion and understanding. And you use the term midwife, that you were my midwife that helped me deliver breathtaking communication. And a first book is like your first baby.
Absolutely.
There's such a difference between your first and second child. When you're having your second child, you can already imagine your baby because you've had one. When it's the first one, every little stage is new. You know, you're reading the book about it 12 weeks, at 6 weeks, at 18 weeks. This book, I didn't know I could be an author. And that's why you actually said something that I wouldn't say was accurate when at the beginning, when you were about to introduce me. You said you helped me self-publish. You didn't. It was a hybrid publication. You very much published it with and for me. There was a big difference. And I'd set myself up for 13 publishers, 12 rejections, because J.K. Rowling's had 12 rejections or 11. She was accepted the 12th time. And I had a 7th publisher that accepted me, but they wanted 6%. They were giving me 6% of royalties and they owned all the intellectual property, but it was my body of work over 22 years and I just couldn't do that. So it made the decision to go with you really easy. Also, I wanted an audiobook because of my inclusive persona. The way I show up has to be inclusive. So I needed for people who were dyslexic and who had audio problems, who had, you know, sight issues. And Amazon do Audible. So that was perfect. And the publisher I went to, you know, I left with their blessing to not use them because they couldn't do what I needed.
Yeah. Wow. She's just reading the comments. We've got Fiona joining us from Manchester, England. She said, big blessings to you. Rose has said, that's wonderful support. Incredible. Thank you. Thank you for those that are joining us. Great to have you on live with us. I'm joined by Fiona. We've been talking about her first book that we published together, Hybrid, Breathtaking Communications. Great tools and techniques for everyday leaders. So if you want a masterclass on breathtaking communications, please get one from Amazon. And Fiona has the brand new book, which is hot off the press, which just went live literally on Saturday, and it's called Take a Breath and Conquering Small Talk. So Fiona, would you give us 2 or 3 tips for the audience before we go on how we can conquer small talk? Because in this post-COVID world where, you know, people are working from home and just having conversations less, how can we conquer small talk when we're out there on the bus, on the trains, at meetings, at events?
Well, I just want to say there is a framework that I designed where I basically threw everything I had up in the air and landed it in a 7-step framework. If you remember, I had a 16-step Rhonda sequence as the foundation of my work with breathtaking communication. This has some of the elements of that, and it's got elements of time to think, which was chapter 18 of our first book, and it was our first book. So I think it would be helpful to to say there's that on page 28, there's a framework. And so I think I'm going to say that when I don't like the word tips, Camelle, do you not know that? Because tips are something you ask for that people ask for who aren't willing to pay for your services.
Sure.
And they want it to be quick and easy and instant gratification. But actually the stuff that really works takes time and effort and energy. But I know you don't mean anything, so it's fine. So the first one, B, it's breathe. It's the breathe framework. So breathing, regulating yourself, calming your amygdala so that you aren't listening to that monkey brain that tells you this is a dangerous situation and it's going to go wrong. You need to calm it and you need to have a positive attitude towards what you're about to do. And then O is for read the room, read the environment. And that's about thinking about your environment before you go, preparing yourself for it. It's got a lot of ideas on the space, not just sort of place from time to think, is about saying to the other person, you matter. So it's about your personal appearance, but it's also about the environment that you're going to be in. And I would say, if I was to give a third idea, I would say, know that about half the people in the room feel exactly like you do, that have social anxiety with small talk. I specifically am thinking of people who are shy or introverted or neurodiverse. And a lot of us are. I'm extreme extrovert. I am not shy, never have been. Grew up in a pub in Ireland. I'm an Irish publican's daughter. But I identify as neurodiverse. I have ADHD probably. So understand that everyone's in the same boat. And if your callers know the Lord, have a little prayer. Ask God to go with you. Put on the armor.
Beautiful. Amazing. Fiona, thank you so much. And congratulations on your second book. And I'm just excited about all that you have going on. Just really, really well done. Day one of having it in your hands as well. So I will leave you to enjoy baby number 2. And we will catch up real soon. Thank you for being on.
And thank you for everything. Thank you for the invitation. God bless you.
Amazing.
Bye-bye.
That was Fiona Brennan-Scott. It was amazing having her on. So incredibly proud of her. Her first book, Breathtaking Communication, available on Amazon, and her second book, just published literally on Saturday, called Take a Breath. Great. Incredible information on conquering small talk. So do give it a read, do check it out. And if you do purchase, please leave reviews on her Amazon. That will be amazing. Juanita, great to have you on. She said, great conversation. Awesome. So thank you for joining me today on In the Journaling Room Live. It's been great having you all that have joined us live. Thank you so much, and see you next Monday. Hopefully I'm moving next Monday, so all being well, I will be on next Monday at 9 with maybe a few boxes in the background. All right, bless you. Have an amazing rest of the week. Take care. Bye-bye.